BRP Sierra Madre has played a prominent role in the Philippine determination to hold strong to its boundaries. Sierra Madre served in the Second World War under the American flag as a tank landing ship, but spent much of the latter part of the war ferrying supplies, ammunition and other military equipment. The crumbling World War II-era former U.S. Navy vessel stands defiantly on one of the world's most contested sites. The ship was transferred to Vietnam to serve in the South Vietnamese Navy in 1970 and played an active role in the war.
Crashed. A Chinese hull kisses a Philippine cutter. Jets circle. Drones watch. And the U.S. treaty line starts to glow red. This isn't a rumor reel. We'll break down how a rusted World War II ship, the BRP Sierra Madre, became the pressure point in China's 9-dash trap, why blockades, lasers, and water cannons are beating missiles right now, and the exact decision that could pull U.S. carriers into the fight. You'll see what Western satellites caught, what Beijing called humanitarian, and why one quote, "If one of my men dies, the treaty is active," turns a gray zone game into a live fuse. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. A grounded World War II hull holds the line. One shove could unlock a treaty. Why would Beijing risk that math? The stage is a shallow reef called Second Thomas Shoal. The BRP Sierra Madre, a worn warship, was run aground there in 1999. A small marine detachment holds it. They live on rust and ration cycles. Every few weeks, a supply run tries to thread the gap, hauling water, fuel, and parts while white-hulled ships crowd the lane. China rejects the 2016 ruling that struck down the 9-dash line. But then the cordon tightens. The same ships that block access call it humanitarian. Meanwhile, commercial satellites keep pulling back the curtain, more hulls, tighter angles, less room to maneuver. Here's the trap. Beijing uses Coast Guard and maritime militia, not destroyers. That choice matters. It cranks up friction without handing over a clean casus belli. Legal pressure meets bow pressure. Lawfare meets seamanship. The toolkit is simple and mean. Water cannons hit sensors, whip antennas, and rip small boats off davits. Dazzlers and lasers wash a bridge window and scorch vision for minutes. Low, slow drones loiter over approach lanes, feeding a constant picture. AIS goes dark or dances, leaving gaps you can argue about later. Lines and law harden where steel meets steel. The Mutual Defense Treaty names public vessels and armed forces. A Philippine Coast Guard cutter fits that box. So a hit on that hull isn't a spat with a fishing boat. It's a step toward alliance language. Run a quick vignette. A cutter holds course. A white hull slides across the bow, then edges and nudges. No shots. No missiles. But the rudder groans, steering loses bite, and a crew watches the gap vanish. The 2016 ruling cut the 9-dash claim to pieces, yet artificial islands and bases now cast a censor-and-sortie umbrella over this reef. Every resupply moves under it. Slow. Exposed. Starve the Marines and Manila must either force a run or cede the ground. Either path drags the treaty to the front. The rusted ship isn't Manila's bait, it's bait set for Washington. A single fatality on a public vessel could light the claws. Comment your choice below, hold the line, or reposition the fight. If you can blind a bridge and break a radar with a hose, why risk a missile? Gray zone tactics turn a shooting war into a paperwork war. You impose cost, drain tempo, and expand control while never crossing the armed attack line that forces a formal response. It's pressure by inches, not explosions. It works because lawyers argue while crews repair. U.S. deterrence shows up as carriers on patrol and reconnaissance flights overhead. But then white hulls mass near the reefs, drones hang at medium height, and a picket of small craft closes lanes one by one. You see steel, but the real effect is time. Every minute spent dodging hoses is a minute not spent resupplying. The target set is deliberate. Harassing Philippine Coast Guard cutters and supply runs keeps fire away from U.S. ships while still pressing the treaty's edges. It's a test of resolve by proxy. Push the ally. Watch the sponsor. The tools are cheap and mean. Water cannons shred whip antennas, short radios, and smash ribs off cradles. Lasers flare across a bridge, risking temporary eye injury that turns a helmsman into dead weight. Drones orbit approach lanes and relay every turn, speed change, and pause. No blast pattern. Just constant degradation. Zoom out to the operational layer. PLA Navy combatants sit just over the horizon like a shadow line. Maritime militia packs the seams. Aircraft run racetrack patterns that say, "We're here," without lighting the fuse. Its presence, stacked and patient. Information is a second front. Beijing brands aid limits, humanitarian. Open-source satellites show the cordon tightening. Those dueling frames don't just shape opinion, they set coalition timing. If your partner doubts the story, your timeline slips. Now the ladder. First a hull nudge. Then structural damage. Then a casualty. Each rung pushes Manila toward calling the treaty, and Washington toward proving it. The recent collision is not noise. It's a probe. The first fatality on a Philippine public vessel becomes the ignition source. That's how a hose pull can summon a carrier. If you want to understand the tactical mindset that wins these battles, subscribe now. In these waters, perception is a weapon. A skiff can move a carrier. Law, optics, and steel now share the same grid, and the smallest hull can trigger the largest fleet. That's the new physics. So what would you do? Break the blockade and risk a treaty fight, or shift the contest to the information lane and the logistics chain? Comment your choice below. Your call shapes how this community reads risk, cost, and timing. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict. We study tactics, not slogans. We track pressure points, not headlines. And we plan for day 2.